What is up? Well, we don't have a party, so we'll keep pre-partying. Yeah, I wasn't planning on doing any more wrestling talk today, but you know, we deserve a power. It doesn't look like the show is airing. Are you guys seeing this? We're having... If you're just now joining us here at alliance-wrestling.com, we are experiencing a power outage. Fight TV has the show set up for tomorrow, apparently. So we're going to just keep talking with you, that hashtag NWA fam. Because why wouldn't we? If you have anything you'd like to say, if you want to complain, now's the time to do it. Because I got you ready. I did my job, NWA. I'm just messing around. What's up, everyone? What was your favorite match that you didn't get to see tonight? If you guys want to share it on Twitter, be my guest. I don't know if it's going to be back on tonight. To be quite honest, I could see them not doing that. What's up, Fiona? Dave Scooby. I'm bummed too. Like I don't know how that happens. NWA obviously is taking a positive approach, saying it's not the first time, it won't be the last time. Stuff like this happens, but it probably shouldn't. Fight TV does tons of pay-per-views. I mean, they do live streaming pay-per-views. The NWA's been doing this now for 37 episodes, and this is the first time I can remember an episode not starting on time. I kind of feel for the NWA because it's like their hands are tied. But this is kind of like community theater, This is like amateur hour. Yes, Chris Johnson, get their press guy on the phone. How are they going to do a post show today if there's no show to post about? Apparently Gary Horn, their press relations, is on the phone right now with Fight trying to figure out if it's going to happen. And that's by way of the Discord chat. If you guys aren't on, I'm going to go ahead and get you a plug for them too. I like to advertise the Alliance blog, but let's talk about, how do I do that? Oh man. How do I share their channel? I guess I don't. Michael Manning, we all want power in our own little way. Absolutely. Hey guys, I'm just here chatting, no topics off the table. If you guys want to talk about something, let me know. Just checking my messages. I thought I saw something worthwhile, but it was just an advertisement for XPW. They make their return to New York, I guess in December. Did anyone ever watch XPW? Do you want to hear a random XPW fact? It connects to the National Wrestling Alliance. Sabu simultaneously held the XPW Heavyweight Championship while he was the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And that's your XPW fact of the day that's connected to the National Wrestling Alliance. Kyle Davis. Kyle, you're a good dude. I like you a lot. Yeah, we're just killing time. Being silly about it. S happens, I know. Look, it happens. We all want our power, but this happens. Are the chats not coming up on the side? Your chat, why isn't it coming up? What's going on? Oh, there it is. I was wondering why the chats weren't coming up. Yeah, so here we are. Here we sit, just waiting in our desolate rooms with no lights, no music. Just thinking, what if we had NWA Power right now? That would be great. Yeah, Kyle Davis is a good dude. I have one Kyle Davis story. And that was while in Atlanta at the first set of television tapings, there was a gentleman running around with a NWA television championship. Similar to this, but it was worse because it was with a black strap. And it turns out, and I forgot his name, but he does follow me on Twitter. He was actually a teacher at a local school in Atlanta, and he was hoping to get to speak with somebody in the NWA about having the NWA wrestlers come to his classroom. And I kind of knew Kyle. I mean, I never met Kyle face to face before that night, but I've known Kyle for years because I followed Dave Marquez's wrestling promotions for a long time. And Kyle Davis, who used to go under the name of Kyle Durden, did a lot of promos and backstage stuff for NWA. I believe it was Liberty States. It might have even been NWA Black and Blue. and definitely I think NWA on fire as well. But anyways, and Kyle, I don't think knew me from a hole in the wall. I said, "Hey, Kyle," and he turned around and looked at me and was very kind. And I said, "Hey, this guy is doing a wrestling club at his high school, and he would like to talk to someone about getting talent to come to his show, or excuse me, to come to his school and talk to the students." And I know that they had Thunder Rosa. I know that Nick Aldis made, I think, over a camera appearance. And I'm not saying that I did that, but I'm saying I helped get the ball rolling. And Kyle was so cool. He stopped what he was doing. And helped out. And that just meant a lot to me as someone who is just a fan. But I know it meant a lot to that school, and I can't think of its name. And if Kyle, if you could think of it, feel free to post. But I thought that was really cool because, those kids, were at risk. Those kids had opportunity to talk to some NWA talents. So that was very, very cool. So I see a lot of new faces in the chat. I see a lot of new people here, and it's blowing me away. So let's talk to you guys. I know Fiona is in Europe. She's in Scotland, and so it's getting late for her. So sorry that it's getting so late, Fiona. Chris Johnson's in the house. Michael Manning's back. I have nothing bad to say about you, Kyle. Nothing at all. I think you're a really good dude. I mean, I didn't really facilitate it. I literally just handed him off to you, but I think it's really cool that you could have just walked away, but I don't have time for that, or I'll get right back to you. No, you took care of it right then and there, and I think that's so cool. And I've always liked you before, but that day I thought you were a really cool human being, so I've become a bigger fan. Let's see. So Michael Manning says he didn't know about XPW. Yeah, so for a short, brief time, the XPW World Champion, Sabu, was also the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Doesn't that just blow your mind? It blew mine. It made me mad because he never wore the NWA title to XPW. And had I seen the 10 pounds of gold at the old Grand Olympic Auditorium, I think I would have lost my mind. Like, back in the day, that Grand Olympic Auditorium was synonymous with wrestling. Now, we didn't get many NWA World title matches. Now, Luthez defended the title in California, but not at the Grand Olympic. He was more like Jeffrey's Barn, which is now at Knott's Berry Farm for anybody who's a thrill seeker. But the Grand Olympic did have title matches with Harley Race. Terry Funk was out here quite a bit. I think Dory Funk and Briscoe were both out here as well. So we did get some of the 10 pounds of gold here in Southern California, but we really didn't get that World's Heavyweight Championship out here in Southern California on a regular basis until Adam Pearce, Scrap Iron, won that title back in 2007. Yeah, he won that. It was a Reclaiming the Gold. He was the first champion to win the title after the Impact and the NWA split. Mystery Man hacked the fight. Damn it, Pipe, I think you're onto something here. Ron Gibson says, I watched you on the Roku and pre-party, and I can't believe Power was a bust tonight. It sucks that it's not on, but these things happen in the real world. Things happen, and it sucks. But I don't blame the NWA. I mean, they don't control what happens at Fight, and it seems like it was just a little bit of an oversight that they scheduled it to go tomorrow. It seems like, which is again not the end of the world, but we're all expecting Power tonight. I don't know what plans it might change. Hopefully the social media content is not scheduled content and we don't get any spoilers. But yeah, John, this is a little awkward, but it's fun. Aldous can add this to the Billy conspiracy, says Pipe Picasso. Yeah, man, I think Doc Stinson now has something else to talk about. Chris Johnson says, yeah, Picasso, why is it the first regular Power to highlight Aldous and it's gone? It's not doing the conspiracy Corrigan any favors. Jonathan Burrell says it's 11:37 in Devon, England. Well, thank you for hanging out here with us on the hurry up, the rain delay party. What do we call this? Ron Gibson, my buddy Ron. I can't remember when you spoke to Raven in person, Jay. Did he sign your belt? Ron, Raven did sign my belt, and because you asked, he even gave me the story that he had never signed his name like that before. And I mean, if I didn't have videos, people might have thought I might make it up, but I legitimately have video of him signing my belt like that. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Wrestling with MMA says, Kyle, any chance of more Sal and Kyle lack direction content? If Kyle's still here, that would be great to address. Maybe that could be a Twitch.tv exclusive from Mr. Kyle Davis. Jonathan Burrell says, I say send Tyrus to see the upload guy to make sure that it doesn't happen again, right? Michael says, it's my fault for not checking the countdown clock. You know, you're on to something. I didn't check. I just assumed. You know what happens when you assume, guys. Chris Johnson says, if Fight won't show it, maybe Fox will. What a surreal world that would be if all of a sudden you turn on Fox News and instead of Tyrus's talk show, you get, boom, NWA Power. Whoa, that would just be a total canon shift in my brain. Jonathan Burrell says, this is the post-pre-party party. That's right, man. Get your never mind, I'm not going to pull that out. Get your cocktails ready. Yeah, Raven was cool. And the thing about it is, you know, we all have preconceived notions of how people are going to be. You know, you don't really know who somebody is or how they're going to act. And I've heard from other fans who've met Raven have not such nice things to say about him. But he was cool as hell. I mean, he didn't rush us. He marveled at my belt. My buddy who competes in grappling contests had his belt. He just likes to wear it to whatever photo session that he gets with wrestlers. So he had it, and then Raven started asking him about it, and then they started talking about mixed martial arts and boxing, and it was just kind of a surreal experience that, you know, this is the guy that, you know, Mr. ECW, Mr. NWA, Mr. Impact, you know, whatever you want to, however you relate to Raven. I mean, he's done a lot in the business. I mean, Portland, you know, he got his kick in Portland with the NWA and Don Owens, and then, you know, the WWE, his time in as Johnny Polo, then Raven in ECW, and later WCW, and then back to the WWE, then to Impact, where he won the NWA World Title. I mean, it's just surreal to think about that guy's career in wrestling. Scotty Flamingo, Scotty the Body, you know, and for all the things that he'd been able to accomplish and do. I think he was just this really nice guy. It was pretty cool. It's a fun experience. Wrestling with MMA says, thank you all for new viewers. If you like what you see here, yeah, exactly. We do this every Tuesday before NWA Power. It's the hour before Power normally, and we talk NWA. I'm usually have a little bit more direction in the show. Like, I will talk to you about, you know, this week's Power and what's expected to be on it. Sometimes we'll talk about NWA news and information. We do this every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. And then we also talk NWA on Thursdays, where we recap Power. We talk about Power. We talk about what happened on the show. And again, we still talk about the news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. So if you guys enjoy just this kind of format, just chit-chatting with your fellow NWA community, like, I hope you will like, subscribe, follow, whether it be on twitch.tv or here on youtube.com or wherever you're watching it. Thank you. Willie Bowen's in the house. Willie's my guy. Willie, we talked about you on the other show. We talked about you on the pre-party, and I told everyone what you thought about Tyrus. let's see. NWA Gold said he can't stay. He's on vacation in Northern Ontario, just saying hi. NWA Gold is the best. In fact, NWA Gold, I'm showing you guys all my replica titles. This might be one of my favorites, and I'll tell you a story why it's one of my favorites. But this guy right here was a gift from a good friend from Canada. And the NWA British Commonwealth Championship was the title. My hat disappeared. Was the title that represented the relationship between NWA UK and NWA Quebec, NWA Ontario, basically the Canadian promotions. And Drew Onyx was like the main guy to hold the title, and he would defend that title basically in the Commonwealth areas of the old British Empire. So he took the title to like Barbados. The title was defended in the UK. The title was defended in England. And there was a point in time where, we know him as, what do you guys call him in the WWE? Finn Balor. I know him as Fergal Devitt. That's what we called Fergal. That's what I still call him because that's what he went by in New Japan, but also his time with the NWA. Fergal Devitt would defend that title in the United States. In fact, Dave Marquez's first wrestling promotion back in Southern California after World Legion Wrestling, post the stuff he did with XPW and UPW, was working for Antonio Inoki with the Inoki Dojo, and they didn't have their own title yet, so they started to recognize the NWA British Commonwealth Championship because they were a member of the NWA. So even though Santa Monica isn't exactly part of the former British Empire, the United States was, so we kind of got off on a technicality there, and we would have Fergal Devitt, Carl the Machine Gun Anderson, Alex Kozlov, Rocky Romero, Mikey Nichols, Shane Haste. Well, no, not Shane Haste, but Mikey Nichols. And that title would be one of the top prizes in the area for a while. It would eventually go back to Canada with Drew Onyx, but it was really cool, and it has sentimental value to me because, again, that was like the top title for the promotion long before there was an NWA Heritage Champion, and this was all while TNA still controlled the main championship, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. So that's pretty cool. Doty's back again. Doty, how early or late is it where you live? It is now 3:47 Pacific where I'm at. What time is it where you're at, Doty? Ron Gibson says, he's just saying, hey there, Willie, I haven't seen you since Memphis. No, Willie, I do not have the North American title. That was actually the prize that I wanted more than anything. When Bruce Tharp took over the NWA, they were selling the original titles. They were selling the titles to collectors. In fact, DKM is in possession of the old All-Star Championship belt, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title, and I love that belt. As much as I love that belt, the North American title was my favorite. And the reason why I like that North American title so much is that was featured heavily on WWF Raw when they had the NWA Invasion angle, right? And that's when Jeff Jarrett came into the promotion. Now, they just put the belt on him. They took it off of Reckless Youth, put it on Jeff Jarrett for the Invasion storyline. But I thought it was very, very cool. I thought it was very cool to have that kind of that moment of having that title on WWE programming. And then, of course, once that storyline ended, the title became a mainstay with Mike Rapata in Music City Wrestling. And now that predates NWA Wildside. And this is getting to that Wilderness era, right? And, he defended that title. Terry Taylor held that championship belt. Oh, we got a new subscriber. Thanks for the subscription, PG Nez. Sorry if you guys see me duck down, but the camera's right here, so the tripod's right there. I can't see the screen as well. But PG Nez, thanks for the subscription, man. I really appreciate that. We're trying to build this community along with This is the Pro Wrestling Podcast for NWA fans. And again, we're here every Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube and on Twitch.tv, and we talk NWA. Michael Manning says, what years was NWA UK around? I mean, the original NWA UK, NWA Hammerlock, with Andre Barker. I think that was like 1999 until about 2006, I think. There were some issues in that UK with the NWA in the UK, specifically Hammerlock. And I know when Andre Barker passed away, the NWA Hammerlock promotion was never the same. I think they brought it back in like 2010, but it just never had the same luster that it had previously. Pipe says Crowbar didn't have nice things to say about fans having belts at the shows on Twitter. Pipe, I don't really bring my belts to shows. In fact, these have all been gifts. I've never even purchased one of these. I brought my title to the 70th anniversary show to get it autographed by some of my favorite wrestlers. I've never taken the TV title or British Commonwealth Championship out of my house. Maybe that might change if the next NWA show I go to maybe secure some more autographs. Oh, wow. The Great Hisa just showed me 93 to 2013. I didn't know it was that long. Good on you, Hisa. The Great Hisa. If you guys, like belt history, the Great Hisa is the guy to know. For sure. Willie Bowen says Rocky Romero is the brother of Jay, Chris, and Mark Youngblood. I think you're thinking of Ricky Romero. Rocky Romero of the Cubanitos, who has wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, AAA, the NWA. He formerly wrestled as the Black Tiger Masks, number 4, winning the IWGP Championship in his feud with Tiger Mask 4. He was also the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion at the time. And he wrestled, he teamed with Sean Waltman and in CMLL with Alex Kozlov. And that was a little bit different, but yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. There's some history for you. And Ron says, "How is your WWE stock doing these days, Jay? I hear about all these releases, but I haven't kept up with the stock price." I let go of my WWE stock. I felt like they made all the money I felt like they could make. Now, this isn't financial advice, so just take this with a spoonful of sugar or salt or whatever you want to say. But I felt like after the WWE had already signed the deal with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and then consequently would land the deal with Fox, that I didn't think there was any more money for them to make. Now, of course, with that being said, then they got a deal with Peacock, and I know there was a lot of millions, maybe even I think it was $5 billion to basically have Peacock absorbed the WWE network in North America, in the United States. So it makes sense on that standpoint for the WWE, but I have no idea where the stock price is. I was already out by then. Dodie says the NWA UK Hammerlock 2011 to 2013 edition, despite never being the same again, but it gave Adam Pearce several hot title defenses, one of them against Zack Sabre Jr. Absolutely. And that was a pretty cool deal. I know Pearce had went over there. He was supposed to have a couple of defenses, and then some things happened. But he did get to wrestle Zack Sabre Jr., which was kind of a generations match because that was more towards the end of Pearce's run as World Heavyweight. Actually, I might be speaking out of tone there. No, you know what? I think that was the third run for Pearce. So I might be a little bit out of order by saying that. But nevertheless, Zack Sabre Jr. was a new guy. Hadn't quite made the stink that he's made now, obviously. Wasn't wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling for sure. So it was kind of cool that he has that history with the NWA, Hammerlock, and wrestling Adam Pearce. That's a good call out, Dodie. So, pretty crazy. I mean, I'm still blown away that we don't have anything yet on Fight. And I just, as I'm going to look real quick, it is still set for 23 hours, 10 minutes, and 29 seconds, airing on August 11th at 3:05. So, I mean, nevertheless, it's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, you got us. the Rain Delay podcast. I don't know what to call this. I hope you guys enjoy just talking wrestling. I see Jason Newsom's in the house. Jay New, brother, you always pop in at the end of the show, man. You should try to make it for the whole show. So what do you guys want to talk about? I'm still blown away that the great Hissa, am I saying that right? Am I saying it wrong? The great Hissa? I'm just blown away that you're here, man. That means a lot to me. You're somebody that I've looked up to in terms of wrestling history. I've always tried to be helpful in supplying you with the NWA title defenses and news and information for the NWA, but I find your site to be just amazing. The amount of work that you had to put into that thing is incredible. I'm just reading some of your comments. Yeah, so if you guys like your wrestling title histories, I'm going to put the address right here on the screen so you guys can see it, because this is a great resource for any wrestling fan, whether you are an NWA fan or not an NWA fan, just a wrestling fan. You should definitely check out the wrestling title histories, or wrestlingtitles.com, excuse me. And see, there's a lot of mutual love here with Hissa and I. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Dodie said that the Bearded Trio will begin the post-show before the show itself even begins. Yeah, what are they going to talk about? Because anything they talk about is a spoiler, right? I mean, do they cancel? And then, like, do they have, again, not trying to make fun of any of this, right? But, like, those guys have real lives outside of their podcast. Do they have time to do this tomorrow? You know, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, geez, maybe Sal's announcement was that they didn't want Sal's announcement to make it to the air. That's the conspiracy. He knows who voted. He knows the election results for Carneyland, and that's why they canceled the show. Oh, man. So, you guys like wrestling? Willie Bowen says, my favorite NWA North American heavyweight champions are Kevin Von Erich, Chris Harris, Ted DiBiase, Jack Stane, and Tim Storm. That's a solid list. I know that Kevin Von Erich won that title, I believe, from Greg the Hammer Valentine. And that was at Jim Crockett Promotions NWA Dallas. And if you guys, we start talking about the wilderness area, then NWA Dallas is certainly worth talking about, because the National Wrestling Alliance at that point was very, very thin, right? In '93, not only do you lose the NWA, WCW, Ted Turner's WCW, but then you also lose New Japan Pro Wrestling. At the same time, they both pull out of the NWA and they start doing their own thing. So now you've got the National Wrestling Alliance, which at this point was like Dennis Coralluzzo in New Jersey, and Don Owens had already closed up shop in Portland. We talked about NWA Hammerlock as what Dodie and Hissa pointed out, that they were out there in '93. So I mean, there were some promotions associated with the NWA, but there were very few. And the board of directors was like Steve Rickard from New Zealand, who had the authority in NWA for Australia and New Zealand. But even he hadn't run any shows since like the late '90s or late '80s. So the NWA was kind of like a rudderless ship, and they weren't sure what to do. So they started partnering with. You had Jim Cornette doing Smoky Mountain. You had Howard Brody in Florida. You had, I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. And then you had Todd Gordon up in Philadelphia. And there was rumors that Jim Crockett Jr. was coming to Dallas, and he was going to start the NWA. And in fact, they even ran a show originally, and they filmed this show in high definition, which was back in 94 was essentially unheard of. And they ran that in Philly. I think it was Philly. It might have been New York, but I think it was Philly. And it was basically like an ECW show before ECW really turned into what it became. You know, blending stars from yesteryear with up-and-comers on the East Coast. And all of that really led to some issues for the NWA, especially with Todd Gordon and Dennis Corluzzo, the NWA board of directors. And Corluzzo thought that Crockett coming in was going to partner with Gordon to dominate the title like Crockett did back in the 80s. And Corluzzo wasn't going to have it. And that's why you got this rift between Corluzzo and Gordon. And then when it came to crowning a new champion, you know, you had Corluzzo have his guy, you had Crockett had his guy, and ECW wanted Douglas. And they started talking about all these restrictions and what they were going to do. And eventually what happened is Shane Douglas threw the belt down. Oh, he says they weren't a member till 98 or 99. That sounds more accurate, actually, but again, I'm more talking about what was happening in the United States. But you're right, he said I don't think they were till 98 or 99. So again, the rest is history. Douglas throws the belt down. Then you had that scramble. All the while, NWA in Dallas pretty much just stuck to itself. They didn't even have a physical title for the title. They used Greg the Hammer's old Texas title, and they called him the North American champion. They traded the title back and forth. But NWA Dallas was responsible for crowning the NWA World Tag Team Champions in the Rock and Roll Express. And they were trying to, live off of that old Global Wrestling Federation world-class crowd. And they kind of did, but it was short-lived and, again, didn't last for very long. And I think Crockett was out of wrestling altogether by 95. Pipe Picasso says, the NWA big lie. Sal exposes it. You're onto something. Ron Gibson says, I used to slap figure fours on my friends as kids, predictably inspired by Ric Flair. I was more of a Cloverleaf guy. I love Dean Malenko. I don't know if I've ever said this on the show, but it was legitimately the WCW Cruiserweight division that kept me a fan when I was teetering on leaving the National Wrestling Alliance. Teetering on being a fan of professional wrestling. He said, you were there in Dallas? Oh man, I have questions. I have questions about Dallas. It looked like a fun show. They have some of the shows on YouTube. You could look up NWA Dallas on YouTube, and you'll see some of those shows. I mean, they had the Rock and Roll Express, and this was like in '94, so they weren't as old, obviously, as they are now. They still had some pretty good matches in them. They had Michael P.S. Hayes. They had Ahmed Johnson. He wrestled under a different name, obviously. They had JBL, again, wrestling under a different name. He said, I would love to hear some stories from NWA Dallas. Michael Manning says, Sal's wrestling gear is second to none. Yeah, I like Sal's gear. It's very creative. It's enjoyable. Pipe Picasso says, Murdoch needs to win the title so Omega can collect it. That is going up on the poll right now. Would you guys like to see Kenny Omega win the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship? It's going in the poll. Make a vote. Would you like to see Omega win the NWA World's title? I personally, I'm torn on that because I like the attention it would bring to the brand, but I also know that there's got to be an end point. And with Impact, their title being firmly around the grasp of Kenny Omega, Kenny Omega shows up on Impact, and he doesn't really put the brand down. But when Kenny Omega's on AEW, he doesn't really promote Impact. He doesn't promote that title, nor has he really promoted the AAA championship either. So what's the true benefit? Well, if you have Kenny Omega come in to face Aldis, or Kenny Omega to come in and face Trevor Murdoch if he ends up winning the championship, would that be cool? Sure. But what's the end game? What is it going to do? It just makes it harder to get the 10 pounds of gold on TV, which, again, maybe isn't the biggest issue because it's not really featured on TV anyways. But then pay-per-views, again, we're talking each pay-per-view is 4 months out. What happens when things go sideways? That's very interesting idea. I'd like to see what you guys think. So far, the poll's only been up for a minute or two, and 90% of you say no. Jonathan Burrell says, as a UK-based WCW fan in the late 90s, I used to torture rack my friends at rugby. Torture? I mean, that takes a little bit of strength there. You can't, figure four. Anyone can do a figure four, no offense, Ron, but torture rack. I mean, we used to do a lot of power bombs. We would pull out the mattress and do power bombs. My buddy would try to do it like Kevin Nash, and I always liked doing it like Vader. So that was our thing to do. Ron says, where were the Dallas shows put on? Sportatorium? I think they were at Sportatorium for a while. He says, I stopped going to the Sportatorium by the time Rock and Roll Express came in. I went to dinner with Tony Norris a few times. He was very nice. That's just amazing. He's also played Suge Knight on one of those documentary style movies about Tupac. Dodie says, if Kenny Omega became NWA champion, wearing the 10 pounds sounds sexy to me, but not with him because he's an outsider and Vader. That's a good point. Kenny Omega is a great champion, and it does have some sizzle to it, but at the end of the day, he is an outsider, so I get it. Pipe says 90% no, Omega's doing the heel work right. Jonathan Burrell says, at 16 I was 6'1", 232. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that was a big 16-year-old. Fiona, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Sorry that there was no show. Have a good night. And Mike, I understand if you're taking off too, but I appreciate you being here. Let's see. And then Willie brings up Polynesian Pro Wrestling from Hawaii, and I don't mean to forget that, but because they were on the island, it's so disconnected from the NWA, kind of like how New Zealand was, and that's unfair, obviously, but I just, it tends to leave my memory. He said, "Go get your dinner, man. Thanks for being around. Please feel free to come back again. We do the Power every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific, or you could be, if you don't mind joining us on Thursdays. We do the same thing, talking about Power at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Thanks for stopping by, Hisa. Jonathan. Sorry, Jonathan. Yeah, that's 6'1" and 232 at 16. Why aren't you wrestling now, John? And then you guys are all saying your goodbyes to Fiona. Jason Newsom said, I did a moonsault out of a tree onto a trampoline. I used to practice doing moonsaults into a swimming pool. And again, I'm not saying I'm as big as Vader, but I'm kind of shaped like Vader. So my moonsaults more are akin to what Vader used to do in the ring. Wow, the Jonathan Burrell that's a good take. If I had to take an AEW wrestler to be NWA World Champion, he would go with Miro. That's interesting. I think if I had to pick anyone, I would pick Cody. because of what he's already done with the NWA, the fact that it would be very flexible with his family and his TV work, 4 days a week or 4 days a month would be almost minimal, and at any time he could go back to AEW without really a problem. I heard a lot of people say Dustin, and as much as I love the idea of bringing in a guy like Dustin, I don't think I need to see him as world's heavyweight champion. But that's a good call, Miro. Miro was another guy that trained out here in Southern California, and he was trained by Rikishi at Knox Pro. And I never got to see him wrestle out here, but he wasn't out here for very long before he was in the WWE. Doty brings up a good point. Lance Hoyt. Lance Hoyt is a guy that should have been world's heavyweight champion, for sure. There's no reason he didn't win that title. They should have put it on him. I blame Bruce Tharpe for that. They should have put the belt on him at some point. You were sending Rob Conway to New Japan Pro Wrestling. You could have put the belt on Lance Archer, Lance Hoyt, and it would have been almost the same thing. Willie says it was promoted by Maivia's family, which is Dwayne The Rock Johnson's maternal grandparents. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I do know about it. I just, every time we talk NWA, because again, they were so secluded. And it's the same thing with like Los Angeles, right? Like Hollywood, NWA Hollywood in the 60s. I mean, they were associated with the NWA. Briefly, they dropped the NWA affiliation, became part of the WWA. Freddie Blassie held that WWA championship out here in Southern California. But eventually, they went back to the NWA. But, I mean, we don't really think of the NWA as a solid, Southern California, specifically Los Angeles, as a big NWA town, the same way we think of Atlanta or Charlotte or Nashville or Houston. Those were all closer to the NWA than here in Southern California, so I get that. I love you, Will Martin, everyone. Wrestling with the MMA is going to go eat dinner, so have a good dinner. Jonathan Burrell says, I just think Murdoch Miro would be brutal. It would be. It'd be a nice little hoss fight, like a real hoss fight. Will Martin's in the house. Gary Horn's in the house. Gary Horn says, get that Omega shit out of here. It was a question. It's a poll question. Somebody asked in the audience. Doty says, Dustin is okay too, but not with him wearing the Goldust style jumpsuit, and that's the problem because I see no charm in Dustin without Goldust. Will, you know what? Just message me on Messenger and you can join this wonderful show right now. We'll do it like the Alliance Guys podcast. Hey guys, we're just killing time because unfortunately there was an issue tonight and NWA Power did not air. It looks like it'll be tomorrow, where I'm sure the Bearded Trio afterwards will be on to talk about what happens. But I figured since there's no NWA, let's all just start talking about it, right? This is a community of this hashtag NWA fam. We are all here because we love the NWA. We love to support it. And as much as the Bearded Trio and I go back and forth, we're actually all good friends. I consider these guys brothers. I talk to them on the regular. And this is a great community. And we don't always see things eye to eye, but I feel like we all have that same motivation, and that's to see the National Wrestling Alliance succeed. So we all want the same things. We all enjoy each other's company. Maybe one of these days we'll just do like an NWA summit, and we'll do all the podcasters. We'll put Doc Stinson on, and DKM, and Will Martin, and Kevin Frazier, and Gary Horn, and Jay Cal, and Rick Del Santo from the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast, and maybe we'll just all sit here and argue about why Scrap Iron Adam Pearce is the best modern day NWA World's Heavyweight Champion and not Nick Aldis. Ron Gibson's Will Martin says Where's the other two bearded guys? That's funny. Pipe says AEW is getting crowded with talent and more is coming. I don't know how they're going to keep everyone happy. Pipe, the thing is they're not. They're not going to keep everyone happy. And they've already started to release some of the talent. Some of the guys that were working dark were under contract, but not exclusive contracts. And some of those people are no longer under contract. And with 2 hours of television and a ton of YouTube hours, they do have time to showcase more and more talents. But at the end of the day, they will not be able to sign everybody. When they bring out CM Punk, that's the rumor. When they bring out Bryan Danielson, that's the rumor. I don't know that they have room for Braun Strowman. I don't know that they have room for Bray Wyatt. I don't know that they have room for every single WWE release, which means that promotions who are leveraged right now can make the most of these opportunities. Ring of Honor, MLW, the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. The indies are going to flourish. It's not necessarily what's best for the talent, but the indies are going to flourish. And maybe there is room at this point right now with all the talent that the WWE's released, there is room for a fourth, maybe even a fifth wrestling promotion, like a big name wrestling promotion. Now, whether they get the traction needed to be competitive, that's questionable. But, you've even got New Japan Strong here in the United States, and more talent is showing up there. Impact Wrestling, more and more of these talents are showing up there. It's going to be fun how this thing all plays out over the next year or two. But promotions like the NWA who are leveraged and have the ability to pivot and can sign guys for short-term contracts, I think are going to do it. I think that's going to be done well. Hey, Gary Horn, if you guys are doing a post-show, I'm going to end my show. Just let me know. Because, again, that's what supportive brothers do. Ron Gibson says, how about Latimer versus Miro? That would be a testosterone cloud of sweat flying in all directions. Hell yeah, it would be. Willie Bowen says, let's give a shout-out to All Japan Pro Wrestling, another NWA affiliate, Giant Baba and Shinya Hashimoto and Muda. Yeah, Shinya Hashimoto is more connected to the NWA. More connected to New Japan Pro Wrestling. 0-1 had that relationship with the NWA. But yeah, Hashimoto was a beast. Ron Gibson says, we're all a band of NWA brothers. Absolutely. And sisters. We got some sisters here. Will Martin says, the bearded trio doesn't even see things eye to eye. I know that. Just again wanted to show off my television title that I have. I know that as Will Martin looks at this title intently, that his glasses might be fogging up a little bit because this is the prettiest title in pro wrestling. And yes, it is red on red. I do celebrate Tyrus's choice to put that title back on a red strap as the way it should be. Jonathan Burrell says, I think Impact is going to become an AEW developmental. In some ways, they already are. Look, AEW can poach talent whenever they want. You could even consider the NWA a developmental for AEW because the top star of the NWA was signed to AEW. And that's no disrespect to Nick Aldis, but let's be honest, Thunder Rosa was the hottest name in professional wrestling. She's the best wrestler in the world. And when the time came, AEW was able to secure her for their show exclusively. The indies were already flourishing, but that's why WWE started signing them all, trying to kill the indies. The indies are set to reset. Yeah, exactly. James is in the house. Heard Flair's been training lately. Flair versus Aldis. Oh, man. I don't know about that. As much shit as I talked about Ricky Morton wrestling for the NWA, I don't think I could be okay with Flair coming in. I'm waiting. Michael Manning says we'll do it live. I don't know what that means, but yeah. Pipe, thanks for stopping in, brother. We're going to end the show in a little bit anyways, but thanks for stopping in. I do appreciate you being here. Appreciate you checking it out. Hope you'll consider watching us next week, or maybe even Thursday as we do the Alliance Guys podcast. That's where I'm joined by former World Junior Heavyweight Champion Kevin Frazier and NWA wrestling historian DKM, and we talk NWA as well as cover the latest episode of Power, which should air, I guess, tomorrow night. Mike Willie says, is that same TV title that Dusty Rhodes defeated Tully Blanchard for? I mean, the title in and of itself, that's just a replica, but yeah, it's similar style. Dodie says, not just Thunder Rosa, the women's division is the hottest division in the NWA, with or without Thunder Rosa. Even with NWA lost many of its ladies, and now it's getting many new ones. Yeah, I mean, look, the thing about the women's division is that, especially the way that this brand is built, that has this cascade of talent that they can pull from, right? That roster's on a carousel. I'm doing this, you guys can't see it. That roster's on a carousel, so they can bring talent in whenever or wherever they want to bring them from. And like, there's nothing preventing them from working with these people. And the fact that they were able to get Deonna Purrazzo to show up, the fact that they've got Chelsea Green to show up, big nod to Impact, Ring of Honor, that's huge. They've had Serena Deeb on their show, one of AEW's brightest females. And of course, Thunder Rosa carried the division, but that doesn't mean she's the only one. Lady Frost, who's appeared on AEW and has appeared on Impact. Genocide, who's appeared on AEW. Sky Blue, who's appeared on AEW. I mean, this thing is really compelling. And not to, not to steal Doc Stinson's lines, but the NWA is a meta promotion where they have this ability, because they don't lock everyone up under contract. It's very much an open door, and the spotlight has helped many talents to get to that next level. Ricky Starks got to that next level. He was already well known in those circles, but being a part of the NWA helped push him forward. Eddie Kingston was already well known in those circles, but being in the NWA helped push him forward. And I really feel like this is the kind of opportunity where the NWA is almost like a rehab facility, where if you have a bad, tarnished image, or you weren't utilized properly in the last promotion, you can come to the NWA and they're going to shine you up real nice, and other wrestling promotions are going to start looking at you. Matt Cross, nothing bad with Matt Cross, but he came to the NWA, had a lot of great matches, and now he's signed with MLW. Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, Matt Cross, Slice Boogie. I mean, it just seems like more and more people are getting this rub from the NWA and are able to go forward and do something better with it. And, who knows? Maybe JTG, maybe the Pope, maybe Tyrus. You never know if one of these guys might get plucked out of the NWA and put in a more permanent place. So, let's see. I agree. Ron says, no, Flair can only be a personality or a spokesman. No way should he be in the ring again. Too many hospital visits prior to that moment. Sure, agreed. Michael Manning says Serena Deeb is up there with Thunder Rosa. Agreed. Ron Gibson says Jim Ross said as much. Michael. Fair enough. Willie Bowen says Ruby Ray's Vipress and the ladies from Shimmer can kickstart the ladies division at NWA Power. Speaking of Ruby Rays, we'll be talking to Ruby Rays next Tuesday. More details as I have them, but I'll be doing a live, probably a pre-party with Ruby Rays. We'll do a live interview here on YouTube and on Twitch.tv. I hope you guys will join us for that. Rays is somebody I consider a friend. I've actually interviewed her a couple years ago. We've been talking about doing an interview again, just conflicts of scheduling and everything else. Hopefully that interview will be again this Tuesday, probably around 10 a.m. Western Pacific Standard Time. So that would be like 1 p.m. Eastern, if I'm doing the math right in my head. But guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I think an hour is a great place to leave it at. You guys are simply the best. I really do appreciate all you guys. I'm glad we got to see so many new faces in here. I hope we get to see you guys on Thursday as well. Oh, if you hadn't seen it, if you missed it earlier, we have a new t-shirt that's coming to you. If you want to, support this show financially, you can do so by getting a hat like this. But we also have a t-shirt that's going to be looking like this. Just in time for Tyrus to win the TV title, our own Alliance t-shirt inspired by that red leather television championship. I love it. I think it looks great. It'll be on my chest soon. And if you would like it on your chest, make sure you visit alliance-wrestling.com and visit the merch store for that. Battery's getting low. Gonna die soon. But that's going to do it for us. Oh, real quick, I want to say that Dave Scooby said that Matt Cross hopefully will be involved with MLW Azteca. He looked great at the last MLW taping. That's pretty cool. Sean Mega says, is Fight in breach of their contract? I jokingly said that. I don't think they really are. I think it was just a real big screw up. Ron says, you're the best. Thank you, Ron. I think you're the best. I appreciate all of you guys and gals. I appreciate you, Fiona, Willie, Michael, Sean, Ron, Dave, Scooby, Doty, Michael Manning, Willie Bowen, the boys from the Bearded Trio, Gary Horn, Will Martin, Jonathan Burrell, Wrestling with MMA, Pipe Picasso, and anyone else I'm missing. I think I got you all, but if I missed you, I still... James. Don't want to forget James. Do appreciate you too. And thank you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you had fun. Sorry we didn't get power tonight, but you guys have it ready, up and loaded for tomorrow. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Hey, maybe we'll see you Thursday. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. See you then. I did forget Jason. Jason Newsom. I remember you, buddy. I'm here. I saw you. You didn't think I'd come back, but I did. Alright, now I'm leaving. Bye.